We are looking for Forrester. We are looking for Forrester. We are looking for Forrester.
Forrester.
Oh wow! It's a Forrester! Finding Forrester, released in the year 2000, and directed by Gus Van Sant, who has also directed such films like Drugstore Cowboy, Even Cowgirls Get the Blues, the remake of Psycho, and Good Will Hunting. And this film is starring Sean Connery, Rob Brown, Anna Paquin, Busta Rhymes, and F. Mary Abraham. It's that damn Salieri again! Alright, I'm gonna cut that out because I think my Sean Connery morphed into Jim Carrey's The Grinch, which is kind of the same thing, but totally different. So, moving on. So the reason why we're talking about Finding Forrester today is because it was a PayPal recommendation and a PayPal donation from one of my longtime biggest supporters on this channel, Autumn Blood. You strike again with a movie that hits you hard in the feels, and just freaking love this thing. And it had so many great lessons and metaphors and messages. There's a lot here that is just like, I hope I talk about everything I wanted to talk about, because there was just so much in this movie. Me being a teacher myself at a university, I relate to the teachers, I relate to the students' feelings. There's a lot that I relate to. This movie is freaking fantastic. Jamal Wallace is a 16-year-old boy growing up in the Bronx who is big into basketball with his friends, but is also quietly a literary genius. And after his public school reviews all of his standardized test scores, they offer him the opportunity to go to a private boarding school. One, because his grades reflect it, and two, he's also very good at basketball and they want to use him so that their school can win the championship. And in the midst of all this, Jamal crosses paths with an aloof, strange shut-in who seems to be taking an interest into the writing styles of Jamal. So Jamal, and who we would later find out is a famous writer in his own right, William Forrester, develop a relationship, and Forrester helps Jamal to write some of the best writing that this world has ever seen. And of course, Jamal submits it into his school writing competition, and because he is a black young man, the teachers there go, well, there is no way in hell that he could have written this thing. He had to have plagiarized it. So there's a lot of racial tension, there's a lot of ageism tension, there's a lot of obvious racism, there's a lot of subdued racism, passive-aggressive racism. This whole thing has so many layers and so many different things and messages that are being delivered here, and I'm fully engaged the entire time, even though looking at the overall scope and the color palette and the design of this movie, it's a pretty simple movie. But it was hitting me even harder now that Sean Connery passed away, I believe, last year. If not last year, it was 2020. It was sometime recent. But seeing him play this old-timer, this man past his prime, and also taking an interest into this young man, and seeing him wanting to pass on his legacy, even though that's what he fought against and hid from his entire life due to his background and his family story with his brother. Seeing him pass on his legacy like this, it brings a tear to my eye, and that's really something that is my main driving force in my life, is a legacy, and that's really why I started this YouTube channel. Now I have something that is permanent, that is recorded, that is published for the whole world to see, and it's kind of my legacy that can carry on past my time here on this earth. And this man, Sean Connery, is given a wonderful performance here. I guess at this time he would have been in his 70s, so in his monologues talking about the past and talking about his history, you can tell that there is experience, that there is gravitas, that there is clout that he is giving to this character, and you just believe everything that he is telling you. The holding back of his tears, even though his tears are coming out, it just hits you. It hits you right here. Tremendous actor and a tremendous performance. This is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite performance of Sean Connery. And that's saying a lot because I've seen all of his James Bond films, and I've seen him in a strange red bikini before. So yes, this one's the best. But he is a supporting character. He's the big name in this movie, but really, Rob Brown is the primary character who we are following, and I've never heard of this actor before, and he's tremendous. He is wonderful. He does a great job of showing that inner conflict that he has with himself due to his skin color and what he wants to do with his educational career. Because of his community, because of his society, he feels the pressure to kind of present himself as a tough character, as a tough kid in the neighborhood on the basketball court. Even though you can tell that there is hesitancy behind that, how he wants to present himself
himself in a more intellectual manner and present himself through his writing. And I love seeing the duality of the communities and the societies that he is in when he's in the public school community as opposed to the boarding private school. Both of them have their own elitist type mentality that he feels torn between, and I love seeing that. And the big conflict in the movie is that he was writing a story with William Foster. It was his own, but the writing prompt that he was given was a piece of a publication that Forrester wrote many years ago for a magazine. He hasn't written anything since then. So he turned it in thinking that it was his own work, and of course his teacher, Salieri, sees it and reads it and goes, "Haha, that wasn't yours, this is plagiarism, and we're gonna take care of you." Now, I'm a teacher, I'm a professor, and I take plagiarism very seriously. If it happens in my class, you get a 0 on that assignment. Sorry. But you can also tell that there is an undertone of racism with Salieri in this movie. I'm calling him Salieri because from Amadeus, F. Murray Mabraham plays Salieri. He's always been Salieri to me, so here, he's Salieri. But you can tell there's an undertone of racism, and hell, he even says it in this movie of, well, this is some of the finest writing I've ever seen, but he's a basketball player. And you can tell the undertones of him saying the word basketball player in there. Like, on the surface level, like, oh, this guy's just into sports. How could he possibly write this? But underneath it, you know what he is saying. Well, this kid is black. How could he possibly be the next great writer of our age? Of course, they don't say it, but you don't have to, because it's there. Now, I kind of understand where the professor is coming from on the idea of the plagiarism stuff. Not the racism stuff, the plagiarism stuff. I'm kind of feeling for the professor a little bit. When you go to university and you create your own material and you are writing your own essays, it needs to be your voice. That needs to come from you. And if you borrow from someone else, you have to give them credit. Here, Jamal, of course, didn't know he was plagiarizing, but turned in something that is obviously word for word written from a previous article. That is plagiarism. However, it is the responsibility of the teacher to know when a student is just purposely plagiarizing because they're lazy and they don't want to do it, or if maybe it was a mistake and the rest of the wording that is coming from them is actually amazing. I've had a lot of plagiarisms in my years as a teacher, and it's amazing how students don't realize how easy it is to find out if you're plagiarizing. Because really, if I'm reading your writing and all of a sudden I read this one line that the grammar and the verbiage usage is just so different from what I previously read and what I read after it, that if I just type that in, I'm like, oh, well, here it is. And oh, hey, here's a whole review, actually, that you copied from. Thank you very much. Here's a 0. Go about your day. And a lot of times it's not even good plagiarism. It's not like they're trying to get it past me. I've had papers turned in before where there's one paragraph in one font, and then the next paragraph is a totally different font, and it's a different font size, and it's bolded. And I'm like, dude, all you have to do is just select all and then make it all one font and one font size. You could have at least tried that to get it past me. With this, you're not even trying. Like I said, I related to this movie so much. I related to every single character in some way, shape, or form. Being in Jamal's shoes of being frustrated that your educator, that your teacher is so arrogant, feeling that they are so better than you, that you just feel trapped and you can't feel like you can't speak to them at all. I've been in his position. The fear of leaving a legacy and wanting to leave a legacy with Forrester relates to me as well. And also being the professor with Salieri is definitely something that I can relate to. However, as an educator, it was always my teaching philosophy that I never thought that I was better than any one of my students. Here, Salieri obviously thinks that he is the best and that none of these kids can even hold a candle to whatever it is about him. And that's the biggest no-no for me. You don't do that to a student. They're there to learn, to try to get on an intellectual level with you or surpass you. That doesn't make you better than them in any way, shape, or form. Maybe you have more experiences. And yes, maybe you do know more about a certain topic than a student. But again, that doesn't make you better than them. Salieri in this movie thinks he is better. I really love this movie. Thank you so much, Autumn Blood, for recommending it. It's a great written film. There's a lot of lines in here about criticism and critics taking apart someone's whole art that they've been working on for many years as a writer, and I felt like that was being spoken directly to me as a reviewer here on YouTube of films, movies, things that people work on, and it's a part of their lives for several years, and here I am maybe tearing it apart or just shouting out a little bit of love towards it. it. This movie is great on so many different levels. I can't recommend it enough. Is there anything I didn't like about it? I don't think there is, which means I'm going to give Finding Forrester 5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I think I see blue. He looks glorious.
Alright everyone, now comes my favorite part of my videos where I pick which movie I'm going to be watching next, and there is a movie that is coming out this weekend that is based on a gaming franchise that actually I am very connected to. I'm not a huge gamer, and I don't find myself connected to a lot of franchises in that field. I do with this one, and it's a movie called Uncharted. I've played all the games. It was really my big introduction to PS4, and just how amazing the graphics and the storytelling are. I love the games. I am so worried about this movie because I really don't see Tom Holland or Mark Wahlberg in these roles in my mind. That doesn't mean that the film is going to be bad. I'm just worried that this is going to be like, oh, well, we're calling it Uncharted based on the game, but it's not going to be true to the games at all, in the spirit of the games at all, and I'm worried about it. But I'll try to check it out this weekend. If I don't, we'll just review a different random movie off of my shelf. So guys, if you've seen Finding Forrester, what did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before, and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so you'll know the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.